My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. And in today's show, we're going to have three major parts to it. So the first part is I'm going to give everybody 3 easy rules to increase your chances of having a happy relationship. Now, I'm going to gear most of this show towards men. So if you're a woman listening, I still think you're going to get some value out of it. I might say some things that you already know. And you might want to give this to, depending on your age, give it to the partner you're with, or maybe give it to your son. So that's going to be the first part. I've got 3 major rules that you definitely need to follow. And then I'll have 3 more rules after that are also very important, but those are not as important. The second part of the show, I want to contrast and compare my opinions with a YouTuber from the Manosphere. His name is Clary, and he has 101,000 subscribers. So therefore, he is in some ways much, much more successful than I am. And I do believe in capitalism. So I'm happy for his success. On the other hand, the fact that the way he's leading a lot of young men in this world, I think is incredibly disturbing. So I want to take a look at that. And on the third part, I want to offer about 3 to 4 really short stories that will illustrate my major rules that I'm talking about. So let's take it from the top. Here are the 3 easy rules that you need to know. Number 1, know who you are. Number 2, follow your own path. And number 3, let others fall in line with you. Now, I'm going to describe that a little bit more in detail just a little bit later. But the rules underneath that are you want to be happy and fulfilled as a single person before you even enter into a relationship. That's important. The other rule after that is do not get involved with someone who isn't happy or fulfilled in their life. Therefore, we have a pretty easy equation here. If you want to be happy in a relationship, start a relationship with someone who's already happy. That should make a lot of sense, and it's extremely simple. The third part of that is you want to try to attract a person who appreciates you for who you are and who supports your growth. And in line with that, you also want to be a person who appreciates your partner for who they are, and you want to support their growth. And I think there's a lot of difficulty in that with especially young men today. They want to say that they have this masculine role and they don't know who they want to be in this world. Well, part of the problem for them, because I don't think it's a problem overall, is that women have been upping their game for a long time. There's a lot of women in college, more younger women now are making more money than men. So it puts men in a position where if you think your role is going to be the sole provider in some way, you're wrong. So you're going to have to develop some other skills. Now, what I want to do is I want to take a look at this Clary. And again, he has 101,000 subscribers, which is incredibly successful, especially compared to me, that I have like 7,000. On this particular video I want to watch, he has over 3.3 thousand likes, which again is incredible. Good for him. Most of the time, I can't even get 3,000 people to watch one of my shows, and he gets that just in likes alone. And he's catering, though, to angry, lonely, frustrated young men, sometimes middle-aged men, which I can't imagine being them, going through that much of a lifespan and still being angry at women for your problems, but be that as it may. Most of these men tend to believe that they're victims, and it's this odd situation where they equally hate women, but then they equally are pining for their attention. And in my opinion, they are completely corrupted in terms of their point of view of women and dating. And they tend to be self-loathing people, they're insecure, and unfortunately, I find them to be very malicious as well. Now, I know this from actual experience. I've worked with a lot of people in the so-called manosphere, and I'm a man, and I've been helping men throughout most of my life, whether I'm in my services as a personal trainer or as a therapist. But what's happening now is that you're getting older guys who are really mining this insecurity of young men, and they're making a lot of money off of it. And whenever I've started to have a type of relationship online with these people, the first second I want to hold these people responsible for their actions or hold them accountable for what they do, instead of blaming society and blaming everybody else, blaming their parents, blaming women, all of a sudden I'm the worst guy in the world, and they move on. I had a really great interview with a men's rights activist. He's very prominent in that area, and his name is Paul Elam. And all of a sudden, we're like good friends, and he was on my show for about an hour, and a lot of his supporters were commenting about how great I was for giving him respect and treating him with kindness, up until we had a disagreement where I said men need to pick themselves up and start doing better. And just because I said that, all of a sudden, all of the insecurity comes out in him, and all of the profanity and all of the trying to put me down. And because even my girlfriend works out, he starts calling my girlfriend a man and all this stuff. So you start going, okay, so this misogyny that's behind most of their thoughts is not really that far behind. I mean, they can be eloquent in the right circumstances, but if you anger them in any way, all of a sudden you're getting all this negativity. And just for the record, my girlfriend, who he was making fun of and calling a man just because she works out, here's a picture of her. I don't know in anybody's definition that she'd be considered to be a man, other than if you're a very small, insecure man who doesn't like women who have a job or work out. So that's my experience with part of this area of the men's rights movement and manosphere and incels. Incel, by the way, means involuntary celibate. So in some way they think they're owed sex by women, and if they don't get sex from women, then they're going to complain and put them down forever. So let me say this about what I think is one of my major points of view about when it comes to pleasing a woman, because these guys seem to have this thought about it's impossible to please a woman. Their standards are too high, and like, oh my God, like a woman with standards now and a woman with options is such a threat to men who are insecure and don't have anything going on in their life. But here's how I look at it, and I've probably always looked at that since I was a little kid, is that women, girls, they're incredibly easy to satisfy. And that's because most women don't ask for a lot. All they want is for a guy to have ambition, and they want you to be your best self. Women are drawn to ambitious men who have direction and goals. So far it has nothing to do with them, right? So technically this means that a man rarely, if ever, has to actually do anything to satisfy a woman directly. All women are asking most of the time is that you satisfy yourself and you try to reach your full potential as a person. I'll give you an example of this starting from when I was younger, because there might be some younger guys listening to this. Playing football. Do you think I ever started playing football when I was a kid and going through all the hitting and the violence and everything else and the broken bones and the sprained ankle? You think I went through all that to get a girl? Come on, you're kidding yourself. I played football because I enjoyed the violence and I liked football and I love sports. End of story. How about school? Why do I go to school? Well, in the beginning you have to, but then why do I go to college? Because I want to be valuable to the community. Most likely, if you have an education, it's going to be easier to secure resources throughout your lifespan. That's why I went to school. So you want to become more valuable, or you want to be able to get a trade. It's important. You want to be educated. Can you do well in society throughout your lifespan without an education? It's possible, but not likely. Most of these men's rights idiots are saying don't go to college, it's too expensive. Yet every single piece of data you look at will tell you that the more education you have over your lifespan, you're going to make more money. That's all you need to know. It's pretty simple. Let's talk about bodybuilding for a second. I got into bodybuilding at a very young age. Do you think I went through all of the torture of training hard, again, getting injuries, going through a very specific nutritional program, competing, all these things that I did to get a girl? No. But here's the thing. If you do stuff like that, women will be drawn to you. And they're not drawn to you just because of the way you look. Because as much as these men's rights and manosphere people want to think about it, that women are only after guys who look a certain way, that's not true. When you do work out and you do show that you have ambition in life, you're going to show these things such as grit, perseverance. You're going to have the ability for delayed gratification. You're going to show that you can be consistent in your life. You're going to show discipline, focus, and you have pride. All of those things and more add up to probably a good person, especially if a woman is looking at you. That's who they want to go to war with. That's who they want to go through their life with. That's a person who can go through the ups and downs of life. Why? Because life is difficult and you need a person that can do difficult things or deal with difficult things. And if you're going to sit at home and masturbate all day and play video games and smoke marijuana, you're not that guy for them. And that's the way it is. You do have to up your game. The Paul Elams in the world can tell you that it's okay to be that way, but the only girl you're going to get like that, I don't know. I can't even imagine some girl saying that, oh my God, that's the dream guy, for you, for her. It's not going to happen. Again, if you respect yourself, women will respect you. Satisfying the average woman is the easiest thing in the world because all you have to do is push yourself to do what you need to do to be a good person and to be a success. That's it. Everybody else will fall in line after that. So let's take a look at what Aaron Clary has to say. The show can be really long, so I'm going to try not to say too much. I'm going to try to let him speak if I can. So let me hit this button over here, and let's see what he has to say.
Department of Women Inc. in the West is pretty conclusively, it's almost bordering anti-male, but you certainly have told these young men you don't need them. And with the attitude and the lip going on the internet where you're like, okay, you're flexing her boss bitch or girl boss or whatever it is, he better this, he better, and all the drama that's surrounding the battle. Okay, is that real? But it maybe not. It is an S show, and that's what's showing. And you've told men that you don't need them. They see this stuff on the internet, and just so you know, to get girls require.
I'm trying not to stop him, but he's so ridiculous. Okay, do you want to know why women say that they don't need men? Well, first of all, because that's a mature thing to do. Because like I said already in my rules, you want to be happy and fulfilled as a single person. So at that point, you would want a partner to share your life with, but you don't need a partner to share your life with. If you're a man, you're not looking for a woman who needs you. You're looking for a woman who wants to be a part of your life and she wants to share her life with you. That's just being, oh yeah, this word that they don't like, it's being mature. Now, to get down to brass tacks, there's another reason why women are saying that they don't need men. And here's some good reasons for you. Let me give you a quick list. More women than men have steady jobs now. More women than men have moved out of their parents' home. More women have bought a house. Think about that. More women have bought or leased their own car. More women have the means to afford a child. More women have paid off their student loans. More women have built investment savings. More women have their own insurance coverage. More women than men are managing their own taxes. So when a woman says they don't need a man, why do you think they're saying that? What are you offering anybody? You're not even offering anything to yourself. You're missing the number one rule of being a human being. Having meaning and purpose and doing something worthwhile. In continuing with this, how is it going to go? Well, I can tell you, when we're thinking about, let's say, college, which is extremely important if you want to make money throughout the lifespan in a capitalistic country, 60% of people in college are women, including law school and medical school. So while he's opining here about, oh my God, women just don't like us, you don't like yourself. Who's going to like you? Again, you're breaking one of my first rules. You need to be happy as a single person. That's not a happy person. Why would he be happy? He's not doing anything that's important. Let me see if I can start this again.
Requires a lot of work on the part of men. I've gone through this before. You got to go to the gym. Remember, ladies, just take your checklist, right? Let's go through that. He better $100,000. Well, what if the kid's 21 and going to college? No, he better. All right. Now you're in the top 5%. If you want a guy who's young too, or no young men make that money. He better be 6 feet tall. All right. Well, that's 14% of the 1% that you just. He better have a house. Well, that's largely impossible for young men today.
It's largely impossible for young men to have a house. Why? What is the law saying you can't have a house? Because more women than men are buying houses. And let's go over some of the stupidity that he's talking about here. He said, it takes a lot of work to attract a girl. You're breaking one of my other rules here. Know who you are, follow your own path, and let others fall in line with you. Okay? You're pretentious as hell. You're supposed to want to work out. You're supposed to want to be successful. You're supposed to want to look good, feel good, do the things that you need to do to be a good person, to be valuable, because of you, not because you're doing it for a girl. There's no girl on the face of the planet that wants a man to work out because he's trying to impress her. Or there's no woman sitting around going, well, he's basically homeless and he lives on somebody's couch, for example, but he's going to get up and get a job because he loves me. No woman wants that. You're supposed to want this for yourself. It's not a lot of work, and it doesn't require a lot of work to get a girl. You just have to do the things that you're supposed to do in the first place. I had a woman tell me this a while back. It's kind of like, okay, thanks for helping me, but the things that you're doing are things that you would do anyway. Yes, that's the point. If you're a guy, you're supposed to be working and doing all the right things anyway, and then you take all of that success and you share it with somebody. That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to stop smoking marijuana and get off the couch because you suddenly like somebody a little bit and that's going to be your motivator to be a better person. That's stupid. And he also says here, you need to have $100,000. I don't know that many women that put that requirement on a man that you have to make $100,000. That's ridiculous. That's stupid. And you have to be 6 feet tall. What are you talking about? Most men are not 6 feet tall. I myself am 5'6", and I've never had a problem. I've never had one woman say, oh my God, you're too short. What happens is when you lie her down anyway and you line up all the body parts, and if you do know anything about delayed gratification, you're going to be good in bed, and that's the way it is. And no one's going to sit there and take out a measuring thing and say, oh yeah, you're 6 feet tall. Nobody cares. Only this guy. Let's see what else we got.
He better. I don't know. Whatever your...
First of all, and that high-pitched you better, whatever he's doing there, I don't know what that is, but that sounds like a very childish squeal. And for some reason, it just bothers me. Be a little bit more masculine. Come on now.
Emotionally high emotional EQ, that's not a thing. No.
Okay, I said I didn't want to keep stopping this, but I am. He said it's not important to have EQ. EQ, which he doesn't really probably know what it means, but it means being emotionally intelligent. It means having pro-social behaviors, like being able to speak to somebody, having empathy and compassion, be able to hold a conversation. He's saying it doesn't matter. It's not a thing. For who? Because if you look at the data, women find emotional intelligence extremely attractive. As a matter of fact, because more women are making more money and it gives them more options, they can take care of themselves. One of the things that they want, and it's pretty much at the top of the list, they want a man who's emotionally intelligent. So here's a guy who has the ear and the money of a bunch of young men in our society, leading him down what kind of road? A road that's not going to be helpful. So let me say it again. Emotional intelligence is extremely important. It is a thing.
I don't know how you measure that, but that's not a thing. He better have no baby mamas or baby. I don't know. The list goes on.
Is it really that out of line for a woman to look for a man to go through life with that doesn't have a lot of baby mamas, like he said? First of all, that term, you got to be kidding me with that. How old are you? But I think it makes sense, because if you're a guy going around impregnating women and probably not taking care of them, and you've got 2, 3, 4 baby mamas, why? I mean, a woman might want to get involved with a man like that, but you don't think that they could be discerning enough to say, well, maybe that's not for me? Because even if by chance he gets off the couch and stops smoking marijuana and playing video games and he does get a job, he's going to have a lot of kids out there that are going to have their hands out. Like, he should be taking care of his kids. And that might make a woman feel really guilty in some sense, that they're supposed to be living a life together, and yet he has kids out there he's not taking care of. So again, I don't know where this guy's coming from, but it's not a good place. Let's see what else this genius has to say.
I can't think of all the... Well, when a guy looks at these hurdles that you put up, you got it.
Women don't put up hurdles for guys to reach. The world does that. As a man, there are hurdles in this world. 3 words you need to understand. Life is difficult. Deal with it. There are a lot of things you're going to have to do. You don't do them because if a girl gives you a hurdle.
To give anyone hope if you expect them to take actions, but if you make the situation or the hurdle too high to jump hopeless, I wonder, you get the guys you're complaining about. These guys never get out of the gate. These guys live at home. They don't go to college, which is good. Nobody should be going to college just to go to STEM or...
These guys are living at home. Hold it. What? Okay, that should be a strike against you too, right? These guys are living at home. He says it like it's not a big deal. And they're not going to college. And he thinks that's a good thing. Like I've already said, look at any data you want and you will see that the more educated you are, as long as you apply that knowledge and you use your degree, you are going to make more money than someone who doesn't have any valuable skills. And again, I don't care what you do. Bachelor degree, master's degree, get a PhD, get a trade. I don't care what it is, but you need to be valuable to society.
Accounting or something like that. So the boys are ahead of you girls in that regard. But then they don't go on to get a tradesman, drive truck, anything else that would become a carpenter, join the military. And God, all the whining and complaining from all these baby boomers like Dr. Lawrence Summers, former labor secretary. No, that was Robert Wright. He was former education secretary under Clinton. I don't know why the men aren't working. You eliminated all hope for at least, I'd say, 70% of the men in your labor. Why 70% of the men in our generation, Cappy? Because 70% of the young men are fat. If they thought there was hope, and if they had any discipline, if they had a father, if they thought that maybe their efforts at work would be rewarded, they would hit the gym, they would work hard, they would whatever it is.
Here's another thing, that their efforts are not rewarded. If they thought it would be rewarded, every time you go to the gym, your efforts are rewarded. Every time you act like a decent person, your efforts are rewarded. I don't know what he's talking about. You know, back in the day when people were stronger and they weren't so coddled and so pussified, that we understood that you had to pay your dues. You weren't going to walk into work on the first day at a minimum wage job and get a raise. So no, if you're a young guy expecting that the world is just going to fall over for you immediately, it's not going to happen. So then you end up quitting. So it's ridiculous. Half the stuff, not half, almost all of what he's saying here doesn't make any sense. It's not going to make any men any better. And he's going to get into this political thing for a second, and I just want to hear that before I comment again. I want to make sure of what he's saying, because this genius, again, his name is Aaron Clary. If you want to subscribe to his channel, have at it.
They'd save their money, they build a house. But it's maybe not you individually, but as a group, women in the West have made it abundantly clear. I swear by my pretty blue bonnet, I will end you. No one's going to get that one. You have made it abundantly clear that it's borderline impossible for the average guy now, and it's going to come at the cost of that individual investing their entire, essentially a slave. What is a guy supposed to do? Go to the gym 4 hours a day, then go work 10 on top of going to college? Oh, and then he has to, like, I don't know, get into chakra crystal. Oh, and by the way, all you guys who work at the gym, right? And then you work 10 hours a day and you go for STEM and you make your $200,000 a year, you better vote Democrat.
Let me, before he goes on, what are you supposed to do as a man? Are you supposed to work out? Are you supposed to go to school? Yes, that's the answer. Like, he's acting ridiculous. As you get older and you're losing your youth, one of the things that happens is you're going to get more tired, and it's more and more difficult for you to do things that young people should be able to do. I'll give you an example. I was working full-time as a personal trainer. And at that time, of course, I was supporting a house. And with that, I was going to school because I wanted to better my education. While I was doing that, the North American Bodybuilding Championships were on the horizon, and so I wanted to be in that show. And then after that was the Mr. Universe bodybuilding show, and I wanted to be in that show. So I also trained for that. And on top of that, I was also running a radio show. So yes, you can work and work out to a degree that you could be competing on a world stage and going to school. And by the way, during part of that time when I was in school, there was an internship, or I guess they would call it an externship, where you would have to work about 15 to 20 hours a week. On top of my regular full-time job, I was working those hours and I wasn't getting paid. But that was part of the ticket to ride in order to graduate, to move me to the next level. So the answer, he's complaining, oh my God, I have to do all this stuff. That's why girls don't want you. That's why you don't want you. That's why you're on marijuana all day. That's why you sit there and play video games and play with yourself, because you're not valuable. You don't like yourself, and you're teaching other people not to like themselves either. No person, no woman is going to be impressed by that. The other thing too, we used to have this thing called jobs. When we were kids, we used to work like summer jobs and things like this, and it would prepare you for when you actually did get a job in your 20s, that people are not going to hand you things. Typically those summer jobs, you work really hard and you don't get barely paid anything, but you're just happy to have it, and that will build up character. So let's take a look at this other. I don't know how to move it back and forward, but I think he's talking about politics right now. So let's do this for a second.
And give half that up for all the welfare bums and the criminals. And you can, I can't, all the men suck, I can't find a guy. But it's worse for your generation. If you want to date a guy roughly within your gen.
Okay, let me stop him here, because he's talking about this thing about if you vote Democrat, if you're a liberal, you're gonna be supporting the welfare bums. Okay, as a liberal, I am a liberal. Let's speak to that for a second. His type of customer and follower, they're the part of the 7 million. Let me say that again, 7 million able-bodied men in this country between 25 and 54 years old that don't work, that have dropped out of society. So when he's talking about he wants to vote Republican rather than Democrat because you don't want to support welfare bums, what are you talking about, man? Like the people all of your customers and followers are the welfare bums. What do you think these 7 million men that have dropped out of society are doing? Who's supporting them? That would be my taxes. Yup, my taxes. So he's literally making fun of welfare bums, but his clients are welfare bums. Are all of these men getting disability and all that? No. Some of them, unfortunately, however they did it, but they were able to convince their parents to let them sit in their basement until they're 30 years old. Or they have a girlfriend that somehow, whatever she's doing, maybe she just needs companionship and she's going out there and working and going to school and doing what she needs to do. And she has some guy who's just laying on a couch doing nothing at home, able-bodied without a job, but she's going to end up paying for him. And this is another problem because women do want to be feminine. But how is it possible for a woman to be in her feminine when there's men all over the country, at least 7 million, that are able-bodied, that are acting like this Peter Pan, where they're just total children? A woman cannot be in her feminine, which is dealing with a child. None of these guys are masculine enough in order for her to be in her feminine. She has to take on the masculine role. Therefore, they work harder, they make more money, they go to school, they're more ambitious. They're everything that they want a man to be, but they have to become that. Whose fault is that? Well, you could say it's a little bit on both sides, because if you're a woman and you don't want to deal with a man like that, the pool of people you're looking at is very, very small these days, because most men are acting like these whiny Peter Pan babies. So what I'm going to do, the show's 31 minutes long, and I still have more stuff I want to do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to end the show here. So I only did 2 out of the 3 parts I want to do. I'm going to record the next part of the show, and that's going to be some really quick lessons, I think, that will illustrate the original rules, which are know who you are, follow your own path, and then let others fall in line with you. In other words, don't be pretentious. Don't do things just to get a woman's attention. So hopefully this has been valuable to you in some way. My name is Joe Prony, and this is the Rise Above Project. I'll be back soon.